The Silent Galaxy. Commander Vexlar of the Dominion Empire sat in the command center of the reconnaissance vessel Silent Watcher, his 6 eyes fixed on the holographic display of a small blue planet. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light from the screens as he manipulated the data streams with practiced precision. "Computer, display Earth threat assessment," he commanded, his voice resonating through the chamber like wind chimes. The hologram shifted, revealing a classification that made all 6 of his eyes narrow in confusion. Threat level: minimal. Containment priority: none. Species classification: primitive. Vexlar's secondary arms tapped against his carapace, a nervous habit he'd developed over centuries of service. Something was wrong. The humans had split the atom, reached their moon, and were developing quantum computing at an alarming rate. By every standard protocol in the Dominion's vast database, Earth should have been classified as at least a moderate threat. "Cross-reference with technological progression timeline," he ordered. The display filled with data points showing humanity's exponential growth. Radio waves to space travel in less than a century. Digital revolution to artificial intelligence in mere decades. The curve was almost vertical compared to most species the Dominion monitored. "Anomaly detected," the ship's AI announced. Earth's classification has remained unchanged for 127 standard cycles, despite technological indicators suggesting reclassification. Lieutenant Kretak floated into the command center, her gelatinous form undulating with concern. "Commander, I've been monitoring our communication channels. Something's wrong." "Define wrong, Lieutenant." "All channels to the Empire. They're silent. Every outpost, every fleet, every colony. Nothing." Vexlar's exoskeleton darkened, a sign of deep unease. The Dominion Empire spanned 12 star systems and commanded thousands of vessels. Complete communication failure was impossible. "Verify through secondary networks," he commanded. "Already done, sir. Primary, secondary, and emergency channels are all dead." It's as if the entire Empire has simply vanished. The commander turned back to Earth's image on the display. The timing was too convenient. He'd just discovered the classification anomaly, and now this. In his long career, Vexlar had learned that coincidences rarely existed in space. "Initiate deep scan of Earth's defensive capabilities," he ordered, "and prepare a reconnaissance team. We need answers." The scans revealed expected results at first. Nuclear weapons, primitive spacecraft, basic satellite networks. But as the Silent Watcher's advanced sensors probed deeper, anomalies began to surface. Energy signatures that didn't match any known human technology. Gravitational distortions in Earth's magnetosphere. Quantum fluctuations that seemed almost deliberate. "Sir," Science Officer Zara's mechanical voice interrupted his thoughts. "I'm detecting structured patterns in Earth's background radiation. They appear to be messages." "Messages? From whom?" "Unknown. But they're using Dominion encryption protocols from..." "Sir, these codes were discontinued over 1,000 cycles ago." Days passed with no word from the Empire. Supplies dwindled, and the crew grew restless. Vexlar made the decision that would change everything. "We're making contact," he announced to his assembled officers. The protests were immediate. "Commander, first contact protocols require." "Protocols assume we have an empire to report to," Vexlar interrupted. "We don't. Our survival may depend on learning what Earth knows about our situation." The humans' response to their greeting was swift and surprisingly sophisticated. They proposed a meeting in a remote location, no military presence, just scientists and diplomats. It was exactly what Vexlar would have suggested. The landing site was a grassy clearing surrounded by tall trees. Only 3 humans waited for them, led by a woman with graying hair and knowing eyes. She stepped forward with a confidence that seemed inappropriate for a species supposedly encountering aliens for the first time. "Commander Vexlar," she said, pronouncing his name perfectly. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. Welcome to Earth. We've been expecting you." Every instinct Vexlar had developed over centuries screamed danger. "You know my name." "How?" Dr. Chen's smile was enigmatic. "We've been monitoring your monitoring of us. Your cloaking technology is impressive, but it has certain quantum signatures we've learned to detect." "Impossible," Lieutenant Kretak hissed. "Our technology is millennia ahead of ours." Dr. Chen finished. "Yes, it should be. Would you like to know why it isn't?" Inside a nearby facility, the humans had prepared presentations that shouldn't have been possible. They knew about the Dominion Empire. They understood the threat classification system. Most disturbing of all, they knew why the Empire had gone silent. "Your people aren't the first to visit Earth," Dr. Chen explained, gesturing to a historical timeline. "The Saurian Collective came first, about 2,000 years ago. Then the Void Hunters. The Crystal Hegemony. Each time, the same pattern. Approach Earth, assess our threat level, decide we're too primitive to worry about." "And what happened to them?" Vexlar asked, though he suspected he already knew. "They vanished. Their armies, their fleets, their entire civilizations. Just like your empire is vanishing now." The room fell silent except for the hum of human computers. Dr. Chen continued, her voice gentle but firm. "Earth has a protector, Commander. Something ancient, something that predates human civilization. We don't fully understand it ourselves, but we've learned to work with it." She activated another display showing Earth's true defensive grid. Not satellites and missiles, but something that bent space-time itself, creating pockets of altered reality around the planet. "Every species that has tried to conquer or contain Earth has triggered this defense," she explained. "Your Empire's military buildup near our system activated it 3 weeks ago. The silence you're experiencing. Your Empire hasn't been destroyed. It's been relocated." "Relocated where?" Kretak demanded. "To a dimensional pocket where they can't harm Earth or any other developing civilization. They're safe, but isolated. The effect will last exactly 100 Earth years, then they'll be returned to their original positions, with their military capabilities permanently disabled." Vexlar felt his exoskeleton crack slightly from tension. "This is impossible. No species has such power." "No species does," Dr. Chen agreed. "But Earth's protector isn't a species. Our scientists believe it's something far older. Perhaps a remnant of whatever beings first seeded life in this galaxy. It chose Earth as its ward long before humans evolved." The commander's mind raced through the implications. The threat classification. Someone in the Empire knew. "Yes, your ancestors learned the truth during their first visit here. They established the false classification to prevent exactly what's happening now. But institutional memory fades, doesn't it? New leaders rise, old warnings become myths, and eventually someone decides that Earth looks like easy prey." As Vexlar and his crew returned to their ship, their instruments confirmed everything. Quantum signatures throughout the solar system indicated massive dimensional manipulation. The power required was beyond anything in Dominion science. "What do we do now?" Kretak asked, her form rippling with anxiety. Vexlar looked at Earth through the view screen. The blue planet spun peacefully, harboring not just a young civilization, but something far more powerful, something that had turned their mighty empire into a cautionary tale. "We have a choice," he said finally. "We can try to fight this, attempt to free our empire, and likely suffer the same fate. Or we can learn from the humans, understand our place in a galaxy we clearly know less about than we thought." He turned to his crew, seeing the same realization in their various visual organs. They were witnessing something that redefined their understanding of power, civilization, and the universe itself. "Dr. Chen offered us sanctuary on Earth while we wait for our empire's return," he continued. "She said we could help them prepare for the next species that ignores the warnings." "You're considering accepting?" Zara asked, her mechanical form whirring with surprise. "I'm considering survival," Vexlar replied. "And perhaps for the first time in Dominion history, a little humility." As the Silent Watcher descended toward Earth's surface, accepting the humans' offer of refuge, Commander Vexlar couldn't help but marvel at the irony. The Empire's greatest discovery wasn't a new territory to conquer or technology to exploit. It was the humbling realization that in this vast universe, the greatest power sometimes wore the disguise of the weakest prey. Earth's true strength lay not in its weapons or shields, but in its ancient guardian and the wisdom to work with powers beyond comprehension. As his ship touched down on human soil, Vexlar wondered how many other primitive worlds held similar secrets, waiting for arrogant empires to learn that the universe had its own way of protecting the innocent. The age of dominion expansion was over. The age of understanding had just begun. The vanishing armies. Commander Vexlar stood in the underground facility that Dr. Chen called the Archive, surrounded by holographic displays showing the history humanity had kept hidden from the galaxy. Each image told a story of invasion, defense, and disappearance that stretched back millennia. This chamber was discovered in 1954, Dr. Chen explained, her voice echoing in the vast space. We found it while testing nuclear weapons underground. The radiation seemed to activate something, and suddenly we had access to records spanning 50,000 years. The displays showed armies beyond counting. The Saurian Collective's biomechanical warriors, the Void Hunters' shadow fleets, the Crystal Hegemony's living starships. Each had approached Earth with overwhelming force. Each had vanished without a trace. Your empire wasn't the first to classify Earth as primitive, Dr. Chen continued. That designation has been our shield for longer than human civilization has existed. Lieutenant Kretak floated closer to one display, her gelatinous form pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of distress. This shows Dominion scouts from 2,000 cycles ago, but our records indicate no previous contact with Earth. Your records were altered, a new voice interjected. The air shimmered, and a figure materialized that defied biological classification. It was simultaneously solid and ethereal, ancient beyond measure yet somehow youthful. I am what you would call the custodian. I have protected this world since before your sun burned hot. Even through his translator, Vexlar could feel the weight of eons in the being's words. His 6 eyes struggled to focus on the custodian's form, which seemed to exist in more dimensions than his mind could process. Why Earth? Vexlar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Of all the worlds in the galaxy, why choose this one? The custodian's form shifted, showing glimpses of cosmic history. Earth is not chosen. Earth is the chrysalis. Your species, Commander, like all others, arose from seeds we planted. But Earth is where the gardeners themselves will one day bloom. The revelation struck the assembled aliens like a physical blow. Zara's mechanical form recalibrated frantically, trying to process the implications. You're saying humans are the larval stage of something greater, the custodian confirmed. Every species in this galaxy is our children, in a sense, but humans carry the complete template. In time, they will become what we once were. Until then, I protect them from those who would destroy or corrupt their development. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her scientific training warring with the impossible reality before them. We've suspected something like this since finding the archive. Human DNA contains dormant sequences that shouldn't exist, quantum structures that mirror the fundamental forces of the universe itself. The custodian gestured, and new displays appeared showing the fate of the vanished armies. They weren't destroyed but suspended in pocket dimensions, frozen in time. I do not kill, the entity explained. I merely remove threats. When each species learns wisdom, they are returned. Some take centuries, others millennia. Your empire, Commander Vexlar, will return in 100 Earth years. But why the deception? Kretak demanded. Why not simply tell the galaxy the truth? Because children must grow on their own, the custodian replied. Each species must find its own path to wisdom. Direct intervention would stunt that growth. So I hide Earth's nature, let aggressors think it weak, and remove those who would interfere. Vexlar's exoskeleton shifted colors as understanding dawned. The technological inconsistencies we detected. Earth's rapid advancement. It's not natural evolution, is it? Dr. Chen nodded. Humanity is accelerating towards something. Every generation shows increased neural complexity, enhanced pattern recognition, deeper quantum awareness. We're changing at the cellular level. The custodian's form brightened. In perhaps 1,000 of your years, maybe less, humanity will undergo its transformation. They will join us as shepherds of the galaxy, protectors of new life, guides for younger species. And until then, Vexlar asked, until then, I remain. And Earth remains hidden in plain sight. The implications were staggering. Every assumption about galactic hierarchy, about the nature of power and civilization, crumbled before this truth. The mighty Dominion Empire, masters of 12 star systems, were infants compared to forces that shaped the galaxy itself. Days turned to weeks as Vexlar and his crew worked alongside human scientists, studying the archives records. They discovered patterns within patterns. Species that learned from their encounters with Earth often experienced cultural renaissances. Those that persisted in aggression faced longer periods of isolation. It's a teaching mechanism, Zara observed, her processors running at maximum capacity. The custodian isn't just protecting Earth. It's guiding galactic civilization towards something. Dr. Chen brought them to another section of the facility where human researchers worked on understanding their own evolution. Brain scans showed neural pathways that shouldn't exist, quantum entanglements between consciousness and cosmic forces. We're finding that human intuition often predicts outcomes our science can't explain, she said, premonitions that prove accurate, collective unconscious responses to distant cosmic events. We're connected to something vast. One night, as Vexlar stood outside looking at the stars, the custodian appeared beside him. You're handling this better than most, the entity observed. My species prides itself on logic, Vexlar replied. When faced with evidence this overwhelming, denial becomes illogical. Yet you're troubled. The commander's eyes fixed on a distant star where one of the Dominion's main colonies should be. We built our empire on the assumption that might determine right. That technological superiority gave us authority over lesser species. To learn where the lesser species, it challenges everything. Not lesser, the custodian corrected. Younger. There is no shame in youth, only in refusing to grow. What happens to us? To all the species who've built their identities on conquest and expansion. The custodian's form shifted, showing visions of possible futures. Some will adapt, finding purpose in protection rather than domination. Others will resist and face longer isolation. A few, perhaps, will transcend their natures entirely and join humanity when the time comes. Months passed. Vexlar's crew integrated into Earth's hidden scientific community, sharing knowledge while learning humility. They discovered that several human governments had known the truth for decades, carefully preparing their populations for eventual disclosure. We've been slowly introducing concepts through entertainment and education, Dr. Chen explained. Science fiction, philosophical discussions, expanding consciousness through art and music. When humanity's transformation begins, we want our species ready. The commander found himself oddly protective of his former targets. He watched human children play, knowing they carried the seeds of transcendence. He observed their scientists' work, seeing in their curiosity the same drive that would one day let them shepherd galaxies. I want to stay, he announced to his crew one day. When the Empire returns, I want to remain on Earth. The decision split his officers. Some saw it as betrayal, others as wisdom. In the end, about half chose to stay while the rest prepared to return when their people reappeared. You could help prepare them, Dr. Chen suggested. Your empire will need guides who understand the truth, leaders who can help them transition from conquerors to protectors. As the months became years, Vexlar found his purpose. He worked with human educators, helping prepare materials that would ease his species' adjustment to the new reality. He watched humanity edge closer to its destiny, seeing subtle changes in each generation. One day, the custodian showed him a vision of the future. Humans transformed into beings of light and thought, working alongside evolved versions of every species in the galaxy. The Dominion Empire itself had become guardians of a stellar nursery, protecting new civilizations with the same dedication they'd once shown to conquest. This is why Earth matters, the custodian explained. Not because humanity is superior, but because they're the catalyst. Their transformation will trigger a cascade of evolution throughout the galaxy. Every species will have the choice to grow beyond their current limits. Vexlar felt something he'd never experienced before, hope for a future grander than any empire. And you'll guide us all. Until you no longer need guides, the custodian confirmed. Then we'll move on to seed new galaxies, and you'll take our place here. As Commander Vexlar stood on Earth, watching the sun set over an ocean that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless would-be conquerors, he realized the greatest victory wasn't in taking worlds, but in protecting them. The Dominion Empire would return, changed by their century of isolation, and he would be there to help them understand that Earth's greatest secret wasn't its weakness, but its destiny to lead the galaxy into an age of true enlightenment. The vanishing armies hadn't been defeated. They'd been given the opportunity to become something greater, just as Earth itself was becoming something greater one generation at a time, protected by ancient guardians until humanity was ready to join them among the stars. The Age of Empires was ending. The Age of Transcendence had already begun.